So today we're going to be talking about how to rig up your GFX 102. Now we got a lot of comments and a lot of direct messages from my video that I did with Ivan when we saw the whole rig out that Joe did from Fujifilm with the GFX 102. And I thought, okay, let me bring in all the gear. Big thanks to Fujifilm Singapore and SmallRig for helping me with this. Having said that, my thoughts only. But I want to show you some of the accessories that you can add into the GFX 102 if you're going to get into filmmaking, photography, all that great stuff. So let's get down to it. All right, first and foremost, we've got the camera and we've got the SmallRig cage on this as well. I'm going to walk you through some of this because this is a very unique cage in the way it's designed and the way it sort of latches on. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we've got the setup here. If you want to rig it up for a camera module, V-mount plate there, D-tap, all that stuff. Plates there. We've got the Atomos Ninja 5 if you want to record, but you can use any monitor, recording monitor if you want to do that, but you also can record internally on the camera because there's so many options available. We also have the SmallRig V-Mount Battery here. So this is the mini version of it. It's got D-tap, it's got USB-A, USB-C. We've got 8 volt out and 12 volt out as well. You're going to like this battery. It's small, it's compact, it's got a lot of juice. Lasts you for at least a couple hours on set, and you can charge it via USB-C, and it's also got a digital readout meter as well, so you can actually see your battery percentage and also information as you plug in devices. Okay, outside of that though, we've got this rig as well. This is very interesting. So let's say you want to go portrait or you want to go landscape with your photography or video. Let's say you're going to do Instagram or TikTok videos. You can actually swivel the camera as it stays onto the tripod. I actually like this quite a bit. Initially, SmallRig just made it for Sony. Then they came out with, I think, Fujifilm X series. And now I think they make them for pretty much everyone, including the GFX 102, which is very, very cool. Some other accessories as well. Gonna clean things up with my Nitecore brush and blower here. Very cool device. By the way, you know, sometimes you don't think about these small things, but go turbo. It's loud. Got a brush there. Clean up what you want. So let's get down to setting up this rig here. Let me bring down the table a bit because it's a bit high. I just wanted to sort of present it for you guys on the video. First and foremost, let's move to the side and let's talk about the GFX 102 on this cage. As you can tell here, this is a really robust cage. All SmallRig's cages are. Now, how I have this bolted on because this piece is part of the cinema rig here, right? So we can take that off. Now, when you get this cage, you're going to get 2 bolts at the bottom of this thing. Only going to use 1 bolt. Now, I'm not too sure if it was a pre-production, but they have a 1 small bolt, 1 large bolt. The large bolt is what you're going to screw into the bottom of the GFX 102. The small bolt you're going to take off of the rig because you do not need it. If you try to screw it in at the bottom, you're going to scratch your camera. We don't want to do that. It's a very expensive camera. You don't want to scratch it unnecessarily. There you have it. This is what it looks like. So you're going to get 2 small bolts. You only need 1 bolt right there. That's all you need. So remember that. Now, also too, keep in mind this. That's not the only bolt that locks onto this, to the camera. You actually have these 2 hinges right here. And you can see it right quick. I'm going to zoom in on this. These actually latch into where your strap goes, into the internal strap lugs that are built in onto the camera. So it's sort of like a hook that goes in it and then you tighten it up. So keep this in mind is that when you're going to take off the cage, you have to undo these hooks, lift them up, take them out pretty much, and then you can slide out the cage or the camera from the cage. Otherwise, it's not going to come out. It's very, very secure. It's not my personal design choice. I like something a little bit easier. Let's say if I'm using the Nikon Z9 and I have the cage, unscrew and screw, take it out, slide it in and out. It's much easier. And also, in case you're wondering, you can take off the EVF with this and it's not going to scratch. Anyway, there's rubber at the bottom of this as well. With the GFX 102, you actually get a base plate or just a flat plate at the bottom that you can put on there when you're not using the EVF for video. Now, I didn't get that because I don't have the entire kit with me for this camera. I'm just borrowing it, but you can put that on there and this is going to give you a little bit more room if you want. But nonetheless, you got all the holes and air ports that you need to plug things in. And obviously, if you want to have HDMI, there's also little parts you can screw into there and do all that stuff, but not necessary. So that's kind of where you're at with the cage for the most part on this. Let me just slide this back in here real quick. So now we're going to bolt this bottom plate on. And again, this comes with 2 screws. You're only going to need 1. Slide this tool back in. You don't want to lose these tools, but they slide right into the cage. Just in case you're wondering, there's your tool. Now we're going to move on to this rig right here. This is pretty easy to set up. Of course, you've got your rods here. You can have shoulder. You can go over the shoulder if you want with these kind of things. You can put the SmallRig, the wireless fizz setup as well if you have a cinema lens or you want to manually control your lens. you can do that as well. I have that set up. I did a video separately from this one. You can check that out, how it works. Actually, it's a pretty good setup and it's not that expensive considering what you get. SmallRig has done some really good stuff as of late, and that's one of the products I really enjoy. Now, I don't always use cinema lenses. Once in a while I will, but if you want to do that, you can on this. So let's slide in the camera and then we're just going to lock this up. We are secure. Make sure everything is good. There's a cooling fan that goes in the back of the GFX 102, the same fan that you get on the XH2S, the XS20, all those. I mean, basically it's the same fan. They've kind of made it universal for all their cameras. So what you would do is you can just take out the display, plug the fan in the back there if you want to do that, or you can lay this display pretty much flat down, however you want to do that. Again, you're going to have a monitor hooked up for this anyway when you're going to be filming, so you just want to get the display out of the way, but this fan does make a difference in terms of keeping the camera cool. You know, they designed this camera to dissipate heat quite well, but that fan does give you some assistance if you're going to be running this long term. So now that we've got that set up here, we're going to take this V-Mount battery. Very simple. Slide in the back. You're locked in. All is good. Okay. We're rocking and rolling. We're almost there. So as you can tell, this is a very secure setup here. Everything feels good. Technically, with this battery, you don't necessarily need a D-tap backplate mount, I don't think. You probably could use just a smaller, because the way that the battery is set up. I mean, SmallRig is really loaded up this battery with a lot of ports on it, but we're going to use it for this video just for the sake of it. We're now going to put on the monitor. Turn this around here so you can see what you're filming. Very, very important. Tighten this down. Everything locks into place. We're good to go. So now we've got the battery eliminator here. So I am just now going to plug in the D-tap to the battery. Aside, tuck in that cable. Once you plug in the D-tap, by the way, and it goes into a power source, the battery is automatically going to kick on. So you don't have to worry about turning that on. Even though there's a power button for that. Monitor's kicked on. D-tap's working. We're rocking and rolling. HDMI in. And you can, by the way, record out to an SSD card as well with this. So keep that in mind. By the way, we're going to use the new 55 1.7 lens to the front of this. This is a fantastic lens. I'm actually going to do a separate video on this lens because it is really that good. This is one of the best lenses in the GFX lineup. Right up there with the 110 in my personal opinion. I mean, Ivan and I, we talked about that before, but it is absolutely phenomenal. So there you have it. This is our kind of our cinema rig real quick here. Now, again, we can go a little bit further with this if you want to do that. We can put, as I mentioned, the wireless fizz for the follow focus system on this if you want to do that as well. You've got a lot of options on this setup here that I think are going to make it very viable for filmmakers out there if you want to get into that. And look, the GFX 102, are you going to use it for filmmaking? I wasn't sure, and Ivan wasn't that sure, but you know, talking to some of you guys through the comment section on the videos and even private messages and just conversations on the street, a lot of you are inclined to try this out. And you know what? I've shot a couple of videos already for this channel. You haven't seen them yet with the GFX 102 and the colors, the depth. I mean, I'm using the 3264 lens and it's a phenomenal look. It is gorgeous, great fall off. There's something special about shooting video on a medium format camera, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Even some of my previous videos on this channel when I first started it were shot on the 100S. And it looked fantastic. It's got a really nice color and depth that the Fujifilm system gives you. So something to keep in mind. I would definitely give it a shot. They've improved this quite a bit. And from what I understand, I watched one of the videos online from CineD, if I'm not mistaken, and they were talking about, when they talked to the Fujifilm guys, that 5.8K is the sweet spot for this. I did shoot a video on that. You'll be seeing that later on in October from about an undisclosed product that's coming out to market. But I will tell you, the video footage looks absolutely beautiful. That is a setup here for the GFX 100 and the SmallRig setup. This adds some weight to it, of course, but again, if you're going to get into filmmaking, this is the kind of stuff you're going to be using, and it's not that big considering what else is out there. I mean, if you get into a RED system or RE system, you know, I'm not saying that this is apples to apples, but those are much more, you know, robust systems, the way they set them up and everything else, but you can obviously do a lot more, but this will get you going right out the bat, and yeah, it's great. Okay, let's unplug all this and we're gonna get into putting this part on, because I think for a lot of you out there that wanna shoot vertical videos for Instagram, TikTok, different social media platforms, or even just do portrait photography and you don't wanna keep going back and forth on your tripod, this is gonna make it a lot easier to do. So let me just take everything apart and I'll see you in a bit. If you have the cage, you can also use this bracket as well. If you do not have the cage, you're gonna use this bottom plate, okay? It's Arca-Swiss, so basically it just kind of all ties in that way. Now, how this works is that basically once you lock this in here, you've got a lock on the back, and then you have a lock on the side here, and this is gonna help you adjust it. You wanna put this ring right around the front, and this button right here will press against the lens mount so you can change the lens if you wanna do that. Now, there are pads on the inside of this, so don't worry about scratching your camera. I've taken this on and off and no issues at all with that. You push this down. It's a little bit of a tough one to get the lens cap out because it's recessed in there. We're gonna take the 55 once again. So the lens is in there, but as you see, all I have to do is turn this and I'm now portrait. So if I wanna go back, landscape, portrait. This is very, very cool, especially because we're doing a lot of social media videos these days. And let's say you're on set, you wanna shoot something in landscape, but you go, hey, wait a second, I also need it in portrait mode. And then if you wanna lock this, you can lock this as well. And it's not going to go anywhere. It stays as it is. Arca-Swiss at the bottom of this. You can get a Manfrotto plate. I have Manfrotto tripods behind me right here and in front, so you can adapt it. But this is one of my favorite features for the GFX and for most camera systems out there. I mean, this really alleviates the L bracket that most people had in the past. Anyway, guys, that's it for the GFX 100 in terms of the SmallRig accessories. Big thanks to Fujifilm Singapore once again for allowing me to test drive the GFX 102 for a period of time, and SmallRig for sending some of these out my way to show you guys this. I'm not paid for this video. I just figured there's a lot of questions on this, and since I have access to the equipment, why not show you guys in that way? So yeah, and I have more videos coming out on this camera. I'm really enjoying using this camera system, and I know a lot of you have been asking me, X2D, GFX 102, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Look, these are two different camera systems. That's another video for another day, but I'm really enjoying this. Reala Ace is my simulation of choice. I'm enjoying that color profile. It's great. The 55 1.7 lens, I mean, honestly, if you have the money to buy it, get it. It's probably one of the best lenses for the GFX 100 system right now, in my personal opinion. And this camera is a really full-featured beast. And I think for video, you're gonna be pleasantly surprised when you see the final output. This thing does a lot. So all right, guys, with that, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, more content coming your way. Thanks again for the support. I really appreciate it, and I will chat to you soon.